Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you and welcome to Spectrum Talk. This is episode 12 where we talk about everything ZX Spectrum. If you're familiar with this series, you know already we talk either about gaming characters, hardware, producers or even writers. We try and mix it up a little bit. Hope you're enjoying the series so far. Now this one might be a bit of a quick episode. We'll see what happens, how long I jibber jabber on for, because it's about something I haven't got too much information about. It's about the Spectrum Next, which at time of recording is due to be launched next month in July 2018. In previous episodes we've covered all of Sinclair Research's computers, starting from the early MK14, then to the ZX80, 81, I'm going over old ground here, so apologies, 48K and the 16K rubber keyboards, then going to the 128Ks and the QLs. The last ZX Spectrum which came off the run, after it was bought by Amstrad and Alan Sugar, was the Plus 3 back in 1987, so it's over 30 years since a ZX Spectrum's actually been around, actually branded as a ZX Spectrum computer. But as I said, there's soon to be a new ZX Spectrum on the horizon, on the market, which is very exciting times. If you haven't heard about that, it's the ZX Spectrum Next. This project has been funded purely and totally by a Kickstarter. Now I did fear when the Spectrum Next Kickstarter went underway that they wouldn't actually reach their target, because before then there was another Kickstarter for another ZX Spectrum product. It was a handheld Spectrum called the Spectrum Vega Plus, and that was an absolute disaster. It did reach its money, but it turns out the people that behind that didn't do anything or pocket the money, or it's a mystery to where it went. Obviously people were a bit burnt by that. They might have lost faith in Kickstarter, but I'm happy to say the Spectrum Next reached its goal as well, and it's on much firmer ground. This Kickstarter was launched in 2017, and I've written down here there was a total of 3,113 backers who pledged a total, believe it or not, of £723,390, which got off to an initial run. So basically backers will get a computer of some shape or form. If you check on their website now, you'll see two versions of the ZX Spectrum Next. Both of them are out of stock, but you never know, they might have another run, you know, depending on if people want it, and I think the demand will be there once we start seeing games coming out for this system. Were you one of these backers? Were you early? Was you not put off by the dreaded Vega Plus beforehand? Will you back that? And are you going to get a computer next month? Let me know. Or are you a bit like me, hanging back to see what actually happens? Do these computers work? Which I'm sure they will do. And how's the market going to go? The standard Spectrum Next package would have cost £210 plus VAT, which is £252, and there was an accelerated version for £275 plus VAT, which works out to be about £330, at least it was when it's on its site. If they do another production run which is bigger, these costs may very well come down. Here's a list of the specifications. Hopefully these haven't changed since they're going on their site, but I'm using directly from Spectrum Next site here. So there's going to be 1 megabyte of RAM, expandable to 2 megabytes internally, so a lot more powerful than the ZX Spectrum Plus 3, 128K. The processor is a ZX80 on an FPGA SLX16, which will give you normal and turbo modes if needed. The old Spectrums had about 15 colours if you use the bright function. This has got 256 colours, so it should be a lot more depth to the screen and the picture, a lot better shading. Hopefully it clears out the need for colour clash, that'll be long gone. Video outputs are the RGB, VGA and HDMI. Storage is all through an SD card. Audio is 3 times AI 38916 audio chips, which will provide stereo output, so it's going to sound pretty awesome as well. Joystick ports, which support cursor, Kempston interface 2, and all the usual. There's mouse and external keyboard, and it also has, as well as the SD card, you've got tape support as well, so ear and mic socket if you actually want to load from a tape. As I say, there's an accelerated version here for a little bit extra. So it seems that the Spectrum Next is going to be pretty awesome. Now, if you're a fan of ZX Spectrum games with a bit of nostalgia, which I am, my favourite era is the early 80s, then it seems the Spectrum is starting to try a little bit too hard. Now, it's those games where they tried a little bit hard and the Spectrum couldn't actually cope with it, i.e. Golden Axe and a few others. I can't wait to see if someone on the Spectrum Next reboots these, reworks them to take full potential, because there's going to be some wonderful games coming out of this thing. And talking of games, what's already known at the moment, as a part of people backing it, they had such stretch goals, so when they reached a certain amount, they'd guarantee that this would be provided. One of those stretch goals was to produce a new Dizzy game. If you're familiar with those, originally by Codemasters and the Oliver twins, who did all the writing of those. A great series, and I've covered all of them on the ZX Spectrum, so have a look at those if you haven't already. But they said they would make a new game called Wonderful Dizzy. Now, that should be quality with those guys behind it, but it's not just Wonderful Dizzy. There's a few games as well. The ones that I'm aware of is a game called No Fate, which is a fighting game from the same people that did Castlevania Spectral Interlude, which is a fantastic homebrew. Check out my review of that one. And also as well, another classic game that's getting the Spectrum Next treatment is Nose of Yesod by the original creator Steve Weber. There's so much to like about the ZX Spectrum Next. It was designed, the keyboard by, the whole design of it really, by Rick Dickinson, who sadly passed away quite recently. He was behind designs of the ZX81 and the 48K rubber keyboard as well. So he was instrumental in the path that ZX Spectrum took and for its iconic design. So yeah, hats off to Rick Dickinson. As I said, I wasn't an original backer of the Spectrum Next project, but if you are, well done. You're soon going to get your computers, whether that be the standard version or the accelerated version. There's no emulators for Spectrum Next as far as I'm aware. If there are, put them below. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next few months, what sort of games are going to come out for this thing, besides the ones I've already mentioned, because it stands to be pretty awesome. I would like to review some of those games, but it'd be hard without the actual computer itself. If they do another run and the price comes down, I might look to do that, but the channel's quite balanced at the moment. You never know, they might send me a free one. Will they? That's another bit of an ask. I don't think the channel's quite big enough, but you never know. Let's put that out there. So, hope you liked having a brief look at the Spectrum Next. Let me know what your thoughts and theories are behind that. Is it going to be great? Is it going to be a disaster? Is there anything else I've missed out in those specs at all that you're particularly looking forward to? And do you think it's going to be, because with all these systems, the hobbyist gets involved and they go under the hood internally and expand the memory and do all sorts of things that before you didn't know was possible. Now, where the Commodore 64, when that ended, well, and the Commodore 128K as well, the Commodore Amiga come in, Spectrum just ground to a halt after it was bought by Amstrad. There was a few different versions of the 128K. So the Spectrum Next, rightly or wrongly, I sort of like to see that as the natural progression which would have happened had it not fizzled out, although the Spectrum Next is going to be a lot more powerful, I presume, than the Commodore Amiga. So let me know what your thoughts about that, if you're looking forward to it, or you're nonplussed. So thanks again, and until next time, take great care of yourself, and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.